to life.
Can you still take the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W, so got to be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud. Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.
And good morning on a Friday? What the heck am I doing on? Well, got about 2 hours to get this done, pack, and get on the road and head to Martinsville area. Headed to Danville, but it's about 25 minutes from the track. My best friend lives down there, and I don't miss this weekend if at all possible. I think the only time I've missed was the opening of a restaurant that I was managing back, 20 years ago. And then, of course, when COVID happened and they weren't letting fans come. Those are only two races that I've missed in, I think, the last 30 years at Martinsville. So you guys get a special abbreviated edition, 2-part series, a qualifying breakdown for this weekend. And then on Sunday, I will do about a 20-25 minute segment Sunday morning before heading to the track to kind of give you my thoughts and whatever about practice and qualifying and who to potentially look at and take. Lost Profit. Yeah, it's a special weekend, and we try to get all the content to you. It'll just be in 2 parts this week, so enjoy while you're working. And Ken, enjoy the race. Yes, I definitely will. It's going to be it's going to be actually cold for both Xfinity and truck because it's at night, and the high for the day is supposed to be 60, and the low, which will be, somewhere like 4 or 5 in the morning. But once the sun goes away, it'll be in the probably 40s at Martinsville. So definitely going to have to pull out all of the winter gear to help stay warm for at least a truck and Xfinity. The Cup race, the high for the day, it currently is scheduled for 59 degrees. Well, what does that really bring up other than it's going to be a little chilly in the stands because they're also talking about it being cloud covered. So no thermal heating from the wonderful bright sunshine that sometimes you get when you go to Martinsville. I've been sunburned. I've been snowed on. I've had every weather difference at that track. It's crazy because of this time of year. You just don't ever know in Southern Virginia what you're going to get and what you're not going to get. But the kind of interesting thing, which I'm very curious about, is this tire combination. Lost Profit goes, I was just looking into that San Diego Naval Base. It's about an hour ago. Going to be a grand piece at the lowest. Yeah, the Naval Base. I've seen the quick flyover layout. That's going to be extremely high speeds. I wish they would put a few bus stops or dog legs or some more turns somewhere in that track because, yeah, I haven't paid close attention, but it's going to be really cool. The optics are going to be amazing with all of the naval stuff that's there, the aircraft carriers and battleships and all that type of stuff. So it's going to be pretty cool to the visual aspect of that race is going to be pretty awesome. But back to the tire wear at Martinsville, it is going to be the same tire that they ran at Bristol. Well, if we go back, if the temperatures were above about 63 degrees, the tire wore, but it wore into the track, and the track took the rubber, meaning and I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's two differences. Number one, the banking and the style of track. Both are short. The high speed for Bristol, but the banking helps. Both have concrete corners. And a lot of people forget that about Martinsville is the corners at Martinsville are concrete. Now, we're only banked at, I think, 11 degrees in the corner, where I think Bristol's 33 degrees, if I remember correctly. So the banking will be much different. But this tire combination, what we saw at Bristol was during practice, it was in the mid 60s, and the track took the rubber. Well, fast forward to the race, and it was in the 50s, and the track did not take the rubber, and the tires just got shredded. I don't know, and I'm not sure we're going to. I think we will probably get a pretty good indication, because it looks like on Saturday, if we get some cloud cover, and it's, I think the high for Saturday's 60 degrees. So it's going to be below the 63 mark that kind of seemed to be the delineation line, tough word to say, of where the track will take rubber and the track won't take the rubber. If the track takes the rubber, it helps ease the amount of fall off from the tire. But if the track doesn't take the rubber, the tires just send off marbles, and it just shreds the tire the rest of the time. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what we get during practice, and if the temperature stays the same. If we get a practice and the sun is out and the track has a chance to warm, but then on Sunday we get to the track and it's cloud covered and cooler, it could show that we might see pretty heavy tire degradation. So either way, that's kind of my take real quick on the potential tire for this race. Either way, the tire is the same tire that they ran in the spring. The spring was warmer, though, and it was sunshine. So we're going to have to wait till Sunday morning and kind of see what we get for weather. And then there'll still always be this maybe, maybe not on the tire wear thing. So, but either way, let's rewind 1 week to Talladega. Man, that was quite interesting. Did not see Chase Briscoe starting in second and winning that race and locking himself into the Final Four at Phoenix for next weekend. But he did it. But I mean, it's anybody's potential race. I mean, Todd Gillen almost won it too. Kyle Larson almost won it. He's never won one before. So it's kind of it's always the crapshoot that you get when you go to these super speedways. But if you followed the process and went with what I said and don't take anybody in the top 10, at least for the optimal, that fell true again. Let's look at it. Yeah, pretty much the highest starting optimal driver was starting in 18th place, and that was Ty Gibbs. And the highest point getter was Todd Gillen, starting in 27th with 70.65. As far as I could tell in the contest that I was running, nobody came close to getting the optimal lineup. I think the highest I saw was 333 points, and that was in the Mini Max 150 deal, which has, 20,000 entries or something in it. So nobody got close to this optimal, but just right outside this optimal was Chase Briscoe, starting in second, finishing in first. So if you happen to have taken Chase Briscoe and you substituted, we had 12,700, so you could have easily swapped out Casey Mears and Chase Briscoe. I wouldn't have done it, but if you happen to have done it, it would have easily won any contest. So I'm not saying that it's an absolute, but as we see, the optimal still turns out that, you don't start anybody starting in the top 10. Beyond that, we see Cole Custer starting in 12th, Bubba Wallace starting in 10th, all with really good top 5 finishes and making the board. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have put them in the lineups either. But beyond that, it's John Hunter Nemechek starting in 28th, Daniel Suarez starting in 26th, Tyler Reddick, Brad Kay, Ross Chastain, all starting in the teens or low 20s. And what has that done to our optimal lineup challenge with 2 races left? Chase Elliott still sitting at the top with 12, Kyle Larson at 11, Denny Hamlin at 10, and any 3 of these guys could make the optimal lineup for this weekend, including Ryan Blaney in 9th. But with 1 race or 2 races to go, we still don't have a definitive optimal lineup race winner yet. So either way, but I did take my own advice last week and followed suit with a 6th place finish in the Chrome Horn. Paid out $600 for that particular contest. I won $705 overall for that contest. I ended up winning because I ran that lineup in a couple of different lineups or different contests. I ended up winning about $1,000. So finally, a good weekend for me. Hopefully, you followed suit and had a good weekend last weekend also. But if I literally would have swapped out Hamlin and Suarez against the guy that finished in first, I would have had 346 points, which was still, 6 points off of the optimal lineup, but would have crushed in first place. And I can't remember what that guy won. I think he ended up winning like $5,000, I think was the top prize for the Chrome Horn this last weekend. But either way, it was a great weekend. I now don't have any worries for the rest of this season and can probably have a little bit of fun with the NFL once NASCAR ends in 2 weeks or in a week. All right, let's leave that in the rearview mirror and let's head to Martinsville, where the winner this past spring was Denny Hamlin with his little fun. He loves to troll. The 11 against the world flag. I wonder if he'll bring that back out again. I mean, he's already locked into the race championship race for next weekend, along with his teammate Chase Briscoe. So we've got 2 spots left to go. And one of those spots will be filled by either Kyle Larson or Christopher Bell, potentially both. But if we get a winner from the 4 guys who are outside of the top 4 right now, all of a sudden the battle between Larson and Bell become very, very dramatic for this race. And it's very possible that we get one of those winners that are outside the top 4. All 4 of those drivers have won at Martinsville before. So, it's going to be interesting. All right, so Martinsville, we talked about this a second ago, is the shortest track on the NASCAR circuit. Is 5.26 miles in length, 11 degrees in the corners. This race length is 500 laps. The spring race is 400 laps, so 100 laps shorter. Not quite as many Dominator points. Dominator points will be king for this race. Complete opposite flip of the switch from last week to this week. Dominator points will absolutely be what you have to build your lineups with. Now, of course, we will probably have 3 drivers who will be cheap drivers or value drivers / place differential. We don't see a ton of place differential because typically the guys that start from the back stink unless they happen to be a driver who happens to be good here. And there are a couple of good value options that could potentially start mid-pack that have good place differential. But as you can see from this picture, if you're looking on a bigger screen, if you look at the corners, you see the white concrete that surround the bottom groove of the corners for Martinsville. And that could potentially really be something to be aware of with the colder weather and those types of things going into this weekend. So just kind of keep that in mind. But that is Martinsville. And I think my tickets are over here in turn 1, in between the kind of the apex of turn 1 and turn 2, just below these suite boxes. I usually kind of sit up about row 28. So if you happen to be at the race, typically I'm in, I think it's 109, 108, 107. I'll be over there. So if you happen to be there, come over and say hi. All right, other tracks to compare to, of course, Richmond, Martinsville, Phoenix, Nashville, Bristol. There's lots of comparisons, but Martinsville is its own little beast. It's a little paperclip. Its big brother, Loudon, is another one that you can compare to. Banking's about the same. Long straightaways, pretty big, pretty flat corners. So you can also look at Loudon as one of the tracks to compare to. So lots of tracks to compare to. The biggest thing when we're comparing really for this is the Dominator points and who is going to be the best potential Dominator. And then, of course, who's going to be our best value picks. So let's get into that. Let's look at optimals from the last 4 races at Martinsville. The spring of 2025, we had Denny Hamlin as the Dominator, leading 274 of 400 laps. Remember, the spring race is only 400 laps. This race is 500 laps. A little slightly different, but still, Denny Hamlin absolutely dominated that race by leading almost 75% of that particular race. Next in line, Chase Elliott leading 42 laps, would have been a secondary Dominator. Didn't quite lead enough laps to really classify it as a Dominator, but did have 60 fast laps, scored 75 points. And once again, we always want to kind of pay attention to what does the Dominator line look like. And typically your more expensive drivers are going to be the ones that we look at for potential Dominators. Not that there can't be others, and there have been in the past that are value options that happen to just hit on a really good setup. And if we happen to have huge amounts of tire wear, the Dominator line could come down a little bit. So just kind of keep that in mind as we build these lineups. Last fall at this race, 500 laps, we had, once again, one Dominator. You could almost probably call it 2 Dominators. Chase Elliott, again, right there as a potential Dominator, leading 129 laps of the 500, and Brad Keselowski leading 170 laps. Ryan Blaney, once again, always really, really good, especially in the fall with a first place finish, scoring 91.65 points. We had 3 drivers that hit 90 points or higher. That's incredible. Where the spring race, we only had 1 driver over 90. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Also, salary cap. You probably want to use most of your salary cap at Martinsville. Typically, it takes as much money as you can put into lineups. Now, you don't typically. The rule of thumb still is you almost don't ever zero out, but I wouldn't leave $1,000 or $1,500 on the table. And the spring race of 2024, kind of a mixed bag. We didn't have any real true Dominators, but William Byron leading 88 laps. Chase Elliott again sitting there in the optimal lineup, leading 64 laps. In fact, the last 4 races at Martinsville, Chase Elliott has made the optimal lineup. I'm just happening to notice that. Another driver who has been in these optimal lineups a lot, Ryan Preece, has definitely made 2 of them. Look at there, SVG making an appearance at last year's fall race. So, like I said, you definitely have to find some value when we're doing this. But once again, we're kind of looking at this. I mean, for the expensive drivers, how many points did they get? And that's kind of the cutoff line that I want to kind of make sure that we're aware of when we're looking at how many points a particular driver is going to need to get. And I'll have more of a breakdown once we have qualifying and stuff. And that's really what I'll cover on Sunday morning is, who was fast in qualifying. I probably will not have the full breakdown of practice like I normally have, but who was good in practice, what the tire issue was, and the qualifying, and how many points these guys could potentially get. Because if all of a sudden you've got a Chase Elliott who happens to have an issue, or a Denny Hamlin happens to have an issue in practice or qualifying, it's really hard to work your way to the front under normal circumstances. If tire wear becomes a huge factor. All of that gets kind of thrown out the window. So definitely we'll discuss that a lot more on Sunday morning after we see what we get for this weekend. All right, the top 15. This is always really important, and it's just something we need to kind of be aware of when you're building your lineups. You want to kind of find your core 15 drivers, and that's how you build the majority of your lineups. Then you have a sub-core, probably like 5 to 8 drivers, and then the other 15 drivers that are left over, you almost don't even put them in your lineups. You almost just kind of set them aside. Don't really worry about them. I mean, if you have to go in there because of salary cap issues and those types of things, a couple lineups here and there with some of the non-core or sub-core drivers, it still is not awful, but there are definitely some drivers who we will talk about that I will avoid for this race. But kind of where the point totals come from, once again, it's 5.6 of the 15 come from top 10 starting spots, 4.4 come from 11 through 20, and then 3.6 come from 21 to 30, and only 1.4 from 31st to worst. There is a little bit of place differential here, but it's typically coming from the mid 20s and teens that make up that portion of the points, where the others come from the dominators. So just kind of keep that in mind. 33.8 is the top 15 point total average. And this kind of has held really, really true throughout most of the races this year. And, it's just a really good guide. If you don't think a driver is going to get above 34 points, why even include them in your either core or sub-core 15? So, we'll have about 20 drivers that have this potential of being in or above this 34-point mark. And, we'll have, because we've got 7 drivers who really could easily be dominators for this race. But we'll know more after practice and qualifying. Let's get into the drivers, how good they are at Martinsville, what kind of point situation some of these drivers are in when it comes to getting to the next round, to the final 4 next weekend at Phoenix. Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney is extremely good at Martinsville. He's exceptionally good when it comes to the fall race at Martinsville. Well, this is the fall race at Martinsville. Ryan Blaney has won the last 2 of these fall races at Martinsville. He's extremely competitive, extremely good at this style track, and especially at Martinsville. He has a 5th place average finish. So averages a top 5. He's won 2 of the last 5 races here at Martinsville. He's got 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s, 5 top 20s heading into this race over the last 5 races at Martinsville with a 9.2 average running position. He finished the spring race at 11th. He's got 19 total starts here at Martinsville. And the interesting thing is the only 2 wins that he has been the last 2 fall races. But he still hasn't, even with only just 2 wins, he's got a lifetime average at Martinsville of an average finish of 5.6. Extremely impressive. And in fact, I underline that he is the best average finish over his full race history. Now, that's really kind of looking at, because you've got SVG, who's only raced, I think, at Martinsville twice or once. I think twice. But, his average finish, is only skewed by 2, where Ryan Blaney's got 19 starts with a 5.6 average finish. That is just super impressive and super consistent. So Ryan Blaney is sitting in pretty much a must-win scenario. He's 47 points out, and he's a long way from these guys would have to have Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell literally have devastating first round stages for them to even be a potential for getting in on points. And that's just going to be really tough. Don't have any practice today because they haven't practiced yet. But and we can't put them on a calculator yet because we don't know where their starting spot is. But I do have down here the optimal of 65 points or greater for Ryan Blaney to potentially make the optimal and to make the top 15 and DraftKings points of 34. We'll cover this page a lot more on Sunday. So we'll kind of just skim through these 2 pages, and we'll just get to the actual breakdown on the driver's history. Denny Hamlin, even on his past podcast earlier today, was kind of being a little bit of a troll, going, "Yeah, I'm kind of decent in Martinsville. I'm not great, but I'm pretty decent." Yeah, he's pretty good. He's got 1 win over the last 5 races. He's got 4 top 5s, which is 1 better than Ryan Blaney over the last 5 races. He does have the highest DraftKings average over those last 5 races of 93.4. He has an average finish of 4.8 and the best average running position of 5.3 of any driver. He did win this race in the spring and 39 total starts. Not quite as good as Ryan Blaney, but an 8.2. I mean, Denny Hamlin also has twice as many starts, so twice as many opportunities to either finish well or not finish well. As you can see, Denny Hamlin has 6 wins on the season. He won at Las Vegas 2 weeks ago to lock himself in to that final race in Phoenix. So Denny Hamlin just wants to go out and probably win another race. He wants to get to 61. I'm sure he just wants to keep piling on to his stat line. So Denny Hamlin, absolutely a good choice. Has the highest DraftKings average at Martinsville, and the last guy we just looked at, Ryan Blaney, always does really well at Martinsville. So we've got 2 guys right off the bat who are exceptional at Martinsville and could easily be dominators. Depending on practice and qualifying, we'll talk about that on Sunday. Christopher Bell, next in line here at 10,700, does not have a win in the last 5 races here. And honestly, his average finish is not superb. It's 16.4. An average running position of 15.7. This is probably a little bit worrying for Christopher Bell going into this race out of between he and Kyle Larson, who we'll get to, I think, next. The comparisons are pretty bright, but Christopher Bell did score a 2nd place finish at this race in the spring. He's got 11 total starts here with 1 win. I think that was in 2021 or 22, which locked him into the final 4. It was a fall race. I think that was 3 years ago when Ryan Blaney did not make it, if I remember correctly. But a 15.5 average finish, I mean, not great. But he is sitting in a really good points position, so as long as there's no winner below the cut line currently, and Christopher Bell just has an average finish of 15th, he'll make it on to the final 4 at Phoenix. If there happens to be a winner from that final 4 or from that bottom 4, Christopher Bell might be in trouble on making it to the next round. Kyle Larson, 10,500 is our next driver. He does have 1 win here in the last 5 races. I think it was the spring race last year, 2024. I think is where Kyle Larson got that win. He has the best average finish over the last 5 races, even better than Ryan Blaney or Denny Hamlin with a 3.4. He's got 4 top 5s and 5 top 10s in the last 5 races here, a 66.6. Ooh, that's kind of spooky and scary. Getting close to Halloween. We got the 3 6s going on here for the DraftKings average for Kyle Larson. Hopefully it doesn't spell doom. But a 6.5 average running position. He finished 5th in the spring race here. Kyle Larson is always really, really good at this track. Let's see what practice and qualifying look like. Kyle Larson is kind of sitting in the same boat as Christopher Bell. As long as there's no winner from the bottom 4, then he'll make it on his way to Phoenix. If not, he's going to have to battle. If there is a winner from that bottom 4, he and Christopher Bell are going to be in one heck of a battle. Now, if either one if both of these guys have issues, that opens the door for potentially somebody that's below the cut line, gives them the opportunity to get in. I think realistically, you would have to see a Ryan Blaney, or and Joey Logano to make it, or any of those guys, would have to finish first and second, and you'd have to have Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson have just really, really bad days. So chances are it's going to be pretty tough. One of the two, Christopher Bell or Kyle Larson, should get into the Final Four. Which person that is, I don't know. If we're basing it on stats, it's Kyle Larson's really to lose. Joey Logano, 10,200. Really good stats again. I mean, all these drivers, there's a reason why they are number one priced the way they are, and why they're all battling for the last two final spots going to Phoenix. Joey Logano, in the last 5 races here, 2 top 5s, but 5 top 10s. Very consistent with a 6.2 average finish, 11.9 average running position. He finished 8th in the spring race earlier. And he's got, for 33 total starts, he's got a 10.3 average finish and 1 win. So he does have 1 win here. It's gonna be an interesting weekend. Chase Elliott, next in line here at $10,000. Does have 1 win here in the last 20 starts. Chase Elliott is probably absolutely way on the outside looking in, and would have to get a win to get in. He could really upset the apple cart if he does end up getting that win, and then it's Christopher Bell or Kyle Larson battling it out for that final spot. But Chase Elliott, $10,000. The last 5 races here at Martinsville, really, really consistent. Also, 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s, 5 top 20s, a 7.2 average finish. Very, very consistent. Finished in 4th. Like I said, any of these drivers that we've talked about so far easily could be in a dominator spot. They're just going to need to practice well and qualify at least in the top 10 for that really to be the case. And really, honestly, the pole sitter really actually has a pretty good shot at getting there. So, William Byron, next in line here at $9,700, does have 1 win here in the last 5 races. I think it was, I don't even know when he finished. He did not finish first. Maybe it was the fall race of 23. I can't remember, but either way, he does have 1 win in the last 5, and he's on the outside looking in. He's minus 36 to the cut line. He's going to need to either have Bell and Larson to have issues, or probably he's going to have to go win. And that's going to be the real honest, hard truth of this whole thing. Now, if Kyle Larson, let's say Christopher Bell goes and wins, he gets locked in, but Kyle Larson has a bad day, that does open the door for the William Byrons, Joey Logano's, and Ryan Blaney's. There are ways for those guys to get in. They would also have to have pretty good stage finishes. But if Christopher Bell or Kyle Larson win and the other driver has a really, really bad day, it could potentially open the door for one of these guys to kind of sneak in. It just, the road that they would have to get there is going to be really difficult. But either way, there are paths without winning that William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Joe Logano can make. I think Chase Elliott is in an absolutely must-win situation. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a mathematical way for Chase to do it. He would have to finish first in both stages, get 10 points. That would cut him from 62 to 42. And then if he finished second in the race, I think that gets him 40 points, I think. Let's see. Do they have a breakdown of the... I know what Draftkings pays. I just don't remember what the points pay per race. And let's see. I don't know if it says in here or not. Yeah, what's my playoff grid? I had Larson, Bell, Blaney, and Byron. Ugh, I don't have anybody locked in yet, but I'll probably get at least one, and I have Bell actually winning the whole thing. But how are the points figured out? Does it say what the winners get? 16 drivers qualify. I don't know if it shows how points are figured out or not. Let's see. Playoffs. Well, I don't really want playoffs. I want overall standings. And it doesn't show the points as a run. Yeah, I'm not. Oh, here it is. Well, this also includes stage points. So Briscoe got 50 points finishing in first. Did he get any stage points? None in stage 1. He did get 10 in stage 2, so 40 points for first. Todd Gillen with 39 points. We can figure this out the math the hard way. Todd Gillen did not get any stage points in 1, and Todd Gillen got 4, so minus 4 off the third, 35 points. So it's 40 for first points. So if Chase Elliott can only get 60 points if he gets second place and wins stage 1, stage 2, that takes him to minus 2 on the cut line. Yeah, Chase Elliott actually is a must win. The other 3 drivers are not. So it is kind of important to realize what these guys are up against when it comes to points, because it shows you maybe how desperate they might be or how much work and effort they're going to be to get up front, stay up front, and dominate this race. So that's why I'm have so much emphasis on this points line, because it is a very important narrative when we're looking at building lineups. Chase Briscoe, our winner from last week, is locked in to Phoenix. He actually does pretty well here at Martinsville. The Stewart-Haas cars always seem to show up at Martinsville, so that's why Chase Briscoe has always done pretty well here. And then, of course, this 19 car and Joe Gibbs Racing always tend to have really good cars at Martinsville also. This track is very, very much dominated by the top 3 teams, meaning Penske, Hendrick, and Gibbs. Typically, the Penske guys don't do as well in the spring as they do in the fall, but the Gibbs and Hendrick cars are very, very consistent throughout. So Chase Briscoe moving from Stewart-Haas, who used to do pretty well coming to Martinsville. $9,200 here, has an 8.6 average finish with a 7.2 average running position. Does not have a win here, but in the last 5 races, it's 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, and 5 top 20s. But he's not really concerned. He's locked into the next round. And that's important too, because not that he doesn't want to win, but he doesn't have to do anything crazy. If they happen to be a little bit off, they may fall back. Now, they could also be spoilers in this whole thing where, maybe he makes it real easy for Christopher Bell to get around him, or maybe he makes it really hard for Kyle Larson to get around him. I mean, it's out there. They're not supposed to play that game, but I'm sorry. They play the game. They just can't talk about knowing that they're playing the game, but trust me, these guys know what's going on, and they want their teammates to make it. So, the Briscoe play will be interesting. I don't love it as a potential dominator, but we'll see what practice and qualifying bring, because a good change. Ross Chastain next in line here at $9,000. In the last 5 races here, he's never finished in the top 5. 2 top 10s. I don't know why Ross Chastain is priced the way he is here, other than maybe because it was the Hell Melon that kind of gives him a little bit of notoriety when it comes to Martinsville. I mean, he's not bad. He's got an 11th place average finish with no top 5s, so very, very consistent. He finished 6th in the spring. It's not that he's a bad call, but I don't think I've ever, as I said before, I've been to, 70 Cup races at Martinsville. Ross has only been in 13 of those, but I've never seen him as being somebody that was overly good at Martinsville. So it'll be depending on where Ross Chastain qualifies, at least for DraftKings. If he qualifies, in the mid to high 20s because of his average finishes, then he'll be somebody that we definitely want to potentially look at. But so this is going to be extremely important when it comes to what we're looking at from qualifying and practice. Tyler Reddick. I have no earthly idea why Tyler Reddick is priced where he is. his average finish over the last 5 races at Martinsville is a 20.6. He is not good at short tracks. I live in the Richmond area. I go to the Richmond races. He's not good at Richmond. Now, 2311 showed up at Richmond this year, and Tyler Reddick was having a decent day till he had pit road issues and mechanical issues. So it definitely brought his average down. But I mean, it's still, Tyler Reddick just does not do well in these short tracks. So why he's $8,800 is a little bit of a head scratcher. But with his price tag, I don't know. It'll depend on where he qualifies. But I don't know if I'll have much interest with the Tyler Reddick play. He's just not good at short tracks. Much better at the mile and a halfs and road courses. So I don't know why Tyler Reddick is priced where he is. There's some really interesting pricing. I mean, Josh Berry at $8,500. It's a little bit of a head scratcher. I mean, he is a short track, what I consider to be kind of a late model short track ace. He's extremely good when it comes to tire wear. So if maybe DraftKings was thinking that this could eventually be like another Bristol and he's able to save his tires, but he's got a 24.7 average finish. Now, the sample size is only 3 races, so it's not big, but he finished 33rd in the spring. And the Wood Brothers are probably the closest team to Martinsville. But, I mean, all in all, it's a little head-scratching why Tyler Reddick and Josh Berry are priced the way that they are at. We'll see what practice and qualifying bring, but I think they are way overpriced. I mean, kind of the same thing with Alex Bowman at $8,300. He's got an 18.4 average finish. He finished 28th in this race. Over the last 5 races, he's only got 1 top 10. He does have 1 win here, and that was kind of by a little bit of luck with the whole Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, and Alex Bowman all kind of battling with each other, and Chase and Denny kind of getting into each other. That was kind of where Alex got kind of lucked into that win. He had to put himself there, but he kind of backdoored into that win. So, I mean, at $8,300 at 18.4 average finish, I think Alex Bowman's priced a little bit too much, but we'll see what the qualifying brings. Bubba Wallace, on the other hand, at $8,000, I think probably should have been priced higher than the last 3 guys. He's got a 9th place average finish. He has won here in the Truck Series before. He's got 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 5 top 20s in the last 5 races. 9th place average finish, like I just said. He finished 3rd here in the spring. At least at Richmond and at Bristol, these guys did really, really well. Sorry, my phone's buzzing, and it's spam likely calling. I don't think I want to answer spam likely call. Yeah, I think Bubba Wallace, I mean, I think he's priced accordingly. I just think the last 3 guys are not priced where they need to be. Next in line here, Ty Gibbs at $7,800. Out of the last 5 races here, he's got 4 top 20s. He's very consistent. He's got a 20th place average finish. Joe Gibbs always brings good cars to Martinsville. I mean, the problem is, Ty Gibbs could potentially be a help for, just like Chase Briscoe, could be a help for Christopher Bell. I'm not real sure. I know that Ty's looking to get his first win if he's got the car to do it, and then maybe there's that potential. But it'll depend on qualifying where I would like to put Ty Gibbs. But $7,800 I think is reasonable. Like I said, he's been very consistent, 4 top 20s. Brad Keselowski, $7,600 over the last 5 races have not been good. 23.4 average finish. He did lead a ton of laps. When was that? Was it spring or fall of last year? Let's go back and look real quick. That was the only time that Brad was actually really good. It was the fall race last year. He led 170 laps. So just kind of keep that in mind. Let's go back to Brad real quick. I was just trying to remember. So it was last year's fall race, and this year's race, the tire is going to be completely different. So we'll have to see what practice brings. But a 23.4 average finish for Brad Keselowski. He's got a 16.9 average running position, so does not finish these races well, but run this, mid pack. I think this is going to be a wait and see. It's a coin toss if we like Brad or not. He's got 2 wins here in the past, but this next gen car at the short tracks have kind of definitely been his Achilles heel. Chris Buescher, $7,500. In the last 5 races, only 1 top 10, 3 top 20s, an 18.4 average finish. Not bad, not great, kind of, mediocre. So it's going to have to be something we look at on practice and qualifying. I don't really consider, any of the guys that we've talked about as potential dominators. Kyle Busch, $7,300. Ended up having a really good race last week at Talladega. Good to see. He's got, new crew chief. He's got, there's lots of things going on. And this track has been definitely his Achilles heel recently. And the balance on the setup and his car has just been really bad at these short tracks. And I don't know if that's just, it's not set up for Kyle Busch's liking or whatnot, but it has been really tough to watch Kyle Busch at these short tracks. He's definitely struggled compared to where he used to be. His average finish for 40 total starts is a 13.4 with 2 wins, and almost half the time he's finishing in the top 10. In fact, it is half the time he's finishing in the top 10. But recently, it's a 21.8. This next-gen car and Kyle Busch just don't seem to get along very well. Question is, will he spin or not spin? It's pretty tough to spin at Martinsville. The tire wear may throw that for a different loop, but we'll see. Austin Cindric, 7,200. Kind of like Tyler Reddick, Austin Cindric just really isn't great at these short track races. 21.4 average finish. He's got 1 top 5, 2 top 10s over the last 5 starts, which, he's got a 20.7 for his total history here. I don't expect a whole lot. I expect him maybe to practice fairly well and probably qualify decent and then kind of fall back. The Penske team always seems to bring pretty good cars to Martinsville in the fall. Can Austin Cindric kind of latch on to some of that magic? Maybe. But, honestly, if you're Penske, where are you putting most of your resources this week? You're putting it into Ryan and Joey. They pretty much have to win to get in, unless some weird, crazy stuff happens with Larson and Bell. But they're pretty much going to have to win to get in. So who's that leave on the outside? It leaves Austin Cindric on the outside. So I'm not expecting a whole lot out of Austin Cindric this weekend, but we'll see what practice and qualifying bring. Ryan Preece, $7,000. Ryan Preece has been the sneaky pick at Martinsville for, I don't know, the last 6-7 races. He qualified on the pole a couple years ago with Stuart Haas. He led, I think, 125 plus laps. He ended up in the Dominator. He's been in the optimal lineup twice in the last 5 races. He does not have a top 5, but it does have 2 top 10s in the last 5 races. He finished 7th in this race in the spring. Ryan Preece is extremely good at these short tracks. It kind of comes back to his modified racing up north at these short tracks. And, Ryan Preece has always done pretty well at Martinsville, especially in the last 5 races, 13th place average finish. 8 out of 12 starts, he's finished in the top 20. So I potentially expect maybe something decent out of Ryan Preece, especially if he practices well and maybe doesn't have a great qualifying spot. Could be somebody that we could really hone in on as a sneaky place differential. And I wouldn't even take him completely out if he qualifies in the top 10. He could easily be somebody who starts close to the top 10 and runs kind of there all day. And that might end up being enough. We could kind of put on the calculator real quick, and just kind of see, let's say he qualifies 14th and finishes in 6th and, doesn't even lead any laps, but has, 5 or so fast laps, but we always give him the token 5. Now he's going to need to probably get close to 55 points to be in the optimal, but it definitely puts him in that core top 15. Once again, this will be kind of where he starts and what practice looks like, but that's kind of what I'm saying is I think Ryan Preece could end up being a little bit sneaky. Carson Hocevar, 6,900. Yeah, Carson's temperament does not do well with Martinsville. I've watched him in the truck races. I've watched him in cup races. The temperament for Carson Hocevar and Martinsville don't typically blend. It's a little oil and water, to say the least. Maybe more like oil and vinegar. But yeah, it's just going to be kind of where he may practice in qualifying. But his average finish is a 23rd over 4 starts. He's got a 19th place finish in the spring. It's not that he's awful, but he definitely kind of struggles. Austin Dillon, $6,700. You would think that there would be a little bit of translation coming from Richmond to Martinsville. The tracks are just different. They're laid out how you drive them is much different. They are both rhythm tracks. There's always a potential for Austin Dillon to have a decent day. He does have an 18.8 average finish, which is, actually one of the better average finishes since we've gotten away from the potential dominators that were at the top of the heap. So, Austin Dillon might be somebody that we can potentially look at after we see practice and qualifying. AJ Allmendinger, in the last 3 of 5 races, because he was not full-time last year or the year before, has a 26th place average finish, which is really surprising because the way this track drives, it has a lot of similarities to road courses in the way the braking goes and the lack of banking. So braking and banking. Between the two of them, it runs sometimes very similar to a road course. The problem is road courses are not necessarily rhythm tracks. Martinsville is absolutely rhythm. It's almost driving it in at least iRacing. It's almost numbing because it's literally whop, oh, whop, oh, whop. You could literally. You just set the rhythm and you just keep hitting those marks and keep hitting that rhythm. Now, the tire wear could be a real factor from getting rid of that rhythm, but if the tires don't wear, you'll brake at the same spot, you'll throttle up at the same spot, and nobody will be able to pass anybody. Todd Gillen, $6,400, had a really good race last week. Quietly is having a really good, decent last half of the season. But at Martinsville, he's got a 16.8 average finish. That's one of the better average finishes. And that's why he's moved up a little bit in the dollar amount this week, being $6,400. It's still not overpriced. This is a good, reasonable price for Todd Gillen. And, over 5 races, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s, 16.8 average finish, a 15.8 average running position. He finished 10th here in the spring. Yeah, Todd Gillen would definitely be somebody that we'll need to keep an eye on as having, especially if there's some place differential potential if he qualifies in the 20s. He could easily be somebody that finishes either top 10 or maybe just into the lower teens. Michael McDowell, 6,200. Once again, Michael McDowell, kind of like Reddick and the other guys that I've talked about. Short track racing is just not Michael McDowell's forte. He's much better on the bigger tracks, drafting tracks, and road courses. He's got a 12th place average finish. He does have 2 top 20s in the last 5 races here. He finished 12th in the spring. We'll have to kind of wait and see with Michael McDowell. He's going to need to start in the 30s for me to probably have much of any interest. And even then, I don't know if he gets to his average finish, starting in 33rd may not be enough. 33rd to what did I say his average finish? 22nd. Yeah, and the token 3 maybe fast laps. It's only 32 points. It's not even the top 15. So we'll have to kind of wait and see what his practice speeds look like, but probably not somebody I'm going to have much interest in this weekend. Daniel Suarez, $6,100. Daniel Suarez had a really good race at Talladega last week. Also, he did get a ride for next year, and poor Justin Haley got booted. We already talked about Justin Haley being booted, and I talked about Daniel Suarez probably being the kind of lock for that ride. Well, it was official this week. He did get moved into the number 7 car at Spire Motorsports. I think it's a really, really good fit. I mean, the guys that own Spire Motorsports are multinational corporations. They own the Dodgers, they own the Lakers. This conglomerate is always looking for, you know, a diverse international flair, and Daniel Suarez definitely fits it. And Daniel Suarez is not a bad driver. So he'll be at the number 7 car next year. Congratulations, Daniel, on holding onto a cup ride. Poor Justin Haley might end up not having a chair once the musical chairs stops. But we'll just wait and see if there's anything that changes. SVG Shane Van Gisbergen, $5,900. Yeah, he ran the fall race last year pretty good, but spring race he finished 35th. It was an abysmal type of day. And, it's always been an issue with SVG. When we saw him spin coming into pit road last week, pit stops are kind of his Achilles heel. And on road courses, typically the pit stops happen under caution. But, a lot of pit stops have affected Shane recently. He's been doing a little bit better. It's gonna be maybe a crapshoot if there's maybe a potential for some place differential here, but I don't expect a ton from SVG. Eric Jones, next in line here at $5,800, 21.4 average finish. He's got 2 top 20s in the last 5 races. He finished 24th. Now, I will have to say that it's a Toyota. The Legacy Motor Club has been slightly improving every week this year. They've had a couple of off weeks, and one of them was at Loudon a couple weeks ago where they just were out to lunch. Or was that Vegas? I can't remember which one it was, but there was one race in the last few that they've definitely struggled in. Eric Jones, it's going to be a coin flip. It'll depend on practice and qualifying. So we'll come back to Eric Jones soon. Zane Smith. Congratulations on Zane Smith securing a multi-year contract. Now it'll be up to the trial that starts December 1st on whether the 38 team is actually even still around for next year. And then if that's the case, then we have lots of musical chairs potentially happening. But I think Zane Smith is in a pretty good spot to end up continuing his Cup career. He quietly is having also he's not having a great year, but he's having a pretty decent year. He's had tracks where he's had some success. The problem is Martinsville typically has not been that track for him. He did finish 16th here in the spring, but a 25.5 average finish and only 1 top 20 out of the last 4 starts. Noah Gregson, $5,500. Average finish of 22.8, average running position of 22nd. He finished 30th here in the spring race. And I happened to hear a stat last night when I was listening to Eric Estep's channel. Noah Gregson, I think, leads the Cup Series for incidents or spins or contact with other drivers this year. Not necessarily all Noah's fault. Noah's having a great race last week at Talladega when he got pushed too hard in the rear. Not his fault. The guy came up, hit him in the rear, and spun him around and took out Chase Elliott also. So Noah Gregson was my pick for last week, and probably would have been a really, really good day if he had done well. Also, I still had a really good day. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at $5,400. Ricky's actually really pretty decent at Martinsville, and it's not that he's going to be up there competing for a potential win or even a potential top 10, but he has a real ability to just kind of always hang around and stay on the lead lap, and that's really important at Martinsville, is just holding on to that lead lap. Don't go a lap down because it's really hard to get back. But a 19.2 average finish. For a $5,400 driver, that's not all that bad. So we'll have to kind of see where Ricky qualifies. and see if we've got some room for some place differential. Cole Custer, $5,300. I mean, the sample size here is not great. He's got one start in the last 5 races here. It was the spring race. He finished 34th. Yeah, we just don't, there's not a lot here. But remember, Stuart Haas has always tended to bring decent cars here. I mean, this whole group kind of got shuffled around with the sale last year of the Stewart piece. But will Haas be able to continue to bring a decent ride for Cole Custer? We'll have to wait and see. I know that they do have some alliances with Penske. So maybe they can. No, actually, I can't remember. Is it Haas that's got Penske affiliation? I know Wood Brothers does. Or is it that Haas has RFK connections? I can't remember which one it was. But either way, the Stuart Haas guys tend to bring pretty decent cars here. I'm about ready to get a visitor, I think. I think my dog may come up and say hi to everyone. Usually I don't have him in the room with me, but since I'm the only one here, want to come up and say hi? Come on. Everybody, meet Oscar! Say hi to everyone. Yeah, you don't even know where to look, do you? So, but either way, this is Oscar. This is our trash can dog. He was found in a dumpster when he was a puppy and spent 7 days there. Yeah, and then got better, and now he is he's here with us. He's about a little over 6 years old. So we got him just right before COVID started. He's our COVID pup. So that's Oscar. But John Hunter Nemechek, I mean, his average finish here is awful, and his Cup career has not been good. But I tell you what, his Xfinity racing here at Martinsville is really good. So I still get a head scratcher here with John Hunter Nemechek, but I can understand why he's $5,200. He's got a 31st place average finish over the last 3 races. And if we look at his total 5 races here, because remember he took a break, it's 28.8. But his Truck Series and Xfinity Series racing here was phenomenal. So I mean, I think if there's anything for a cheap driver right now, I think John Hunter Nemechek might be a pretty good option for a cheap, sneaky pick. But we'll see what practice and qualifying bring. Oh, Justin Haley, you lost your ride. Sorry about that. But honestly, Martinsville's not a real good place for you either. So no real chance to kind of win your way back into a ride for next year. 29.2 average finish. He finished 29th in the spring race. Yeah, and my guess is the Spire Group's not going to have a whole lot for this track. They typically don't run all that well. Ty Dillon fit at $5,000, 23.7 average finish. Yeah, just, I mean, this is going to be a potential place differential if he gets qualified, 35, 36, 37, somewhere in there. But we'll have to wait and see what qualifying and practice brings. All these guys down here are just real struggle buses. Riley Herbst, I mean, the sample size is not great here. He finished 32nd in the spring. I mean, his Xfinity career here was not bad. Then we have Cody Ware, 31st place finish over the last 5 races. He's got 1 sample size, 6 total races with a 31.2. And I think I saw that Casey Mears is $4,500. He hasn't raced here in forever. So not overly concerned about the Casey Mears. Plus, the car that they're bringing just doesn't have the horsepower to keep up, or the technology, or engineering, or pit crews. So I can pretty much say that Casey Mears will not be a factor. Like he was last week. He did make the optimal lineup. I definitely did not have that on my bingo card last week. But like I said, it's such a crapshoot at Dega that who knows. All right, we are at the end. I don't have any more real stuff because we don't have any practice or qualifying data to look at. And I'm an hour in, and I need to leave in about 30 to 45 minutes to head to Martinsville. I appreciate everyone tuning in. This coming Sunday, I'm going to say 10:30-ish for a live stream. It'll be about a 20-30 minute. You can always hit me up in this chat if you have any questions about practice and qualifying, and I'll try to answer them during that stream. It will be a live stream, so if you have any questions or thoughts or concerns, hit join me Sunday morning. But other than that, have a great weekend. I'm going to go freeze my backside off at Martinsville watching Truck and Xfinity and the Cup Series. Have a great weekend. We will talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. I always forget to remind people to do that. So, all right. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the racing. Bye.
Gentlemen, start your engines. 40 cars coming to life.
He's still takes the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here.
Only about one thing tonight, getting the W, so got to be around the end to do that.
Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun. Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud.
Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.